Hello everyone, welcome to Module 3. Just wanted to give you a brief overview of where we currently are. In Module 3, we're looking at the importance of cause and effect relationships in program evaluation. And as you are seeing through the readings, it becomes exceptionally important to not only determine what you're evaluating and the precision in your evaluation, but what are some of the effects of, or what are some of the things that have an impact on the outcomes of your evaluation. One of the things that we look at, one of the topics that can be a little bit, I guess, much more vague and non-clear is the term construct. Surely we'll be talking about construct validity, but a construct merely is it can be looked at as a word or a phrase that conveys some type of meaning. And the difficulty in explaining or understanding a construct lies in the fact that a construct can have various approaches or various meanings based upon the context that it's placed in. So, for example, if we're looking at, if we want to draw or develop a construct based upon the idea of educational success, we can define that in several different ways. So educational success can refer to, let's say, graduation rates. Educational success may refer to the change in GPA from one year to the next, or the change in test scores from one year to the next. And it can also refer to the actual grade that you earn. So based upon the way that we define this particular construct, will also have an impact on how we examine it and how we approach it, and also, most importantly, has an impact on how we actually measure the construct. So in this case, the construct of educational success, if we look at it in terms of graduation rates, we would measure it based upon, let's say, the percentage of students who graduated in a given year. And if in 2016 the graduation rate was 91%, and in 2017 the graduation rate went to 93%, then we would obviously say that was an improvement, and that in terms of that measurement we were successful in terms of how we helped or aided students increase their graduation rates. So the construct, again, can be a nebulous term, but I want you to keep in mind that based upon the research that you're conducting, or as an evaluator that you're examining, will have an impact on the definition of the various construct. So, and most importantly, it's based in large part on how that item is measured. In the next couple of weeks, we'll begin to discuss operationalization and how we actually determine or define the measurement of various terms, similar to educational success. Now let's also move on. I want to briefly discuss the discussion question, or the discussion questions. So the first discussion question looks at asks you to compare and contrast program evaluation and performance measurement. And many people will say that the two areas are disparate and they should be separated, and that there isn't or shouldn't be any overlap, while others, including the authors of the textbook that you're reading, suggest that they are very closely aligned and very closely related. Some even suggest that they're cousins or some type of relative. I would only say that, in my experience, program evaluation and program and performance measurement are highly related. I'll leave it up to you to determine the extent of their relationship. But overall, the two in many ways go hand in hand in terms of how we're looking to identify and establish success, or identify success in a given program or not. The other discussion question may be looked at as a follow-up to one of our first discussion questions. And this one, it asks the unintended consequences of evaluation. And if you think back in terms of one of the questions that was asked about preparing an evaluation for someone who may not use the information. And in that way, if you think about it in that manner, it may make that question a little bit more understandable. Obviously, there are unintended consequences that we cannot predict or foresee, but our job as an evaluation team or as an evaluator is to try to mitigate a lot of those, or as many of those unintended consequences as possible, and to also have a plan in place to address those particular consequences. Now, I'd like to also move on to your first assignment, the literature review. And this particular assignment is really geared to get you to begin getting the ball rolling in your research project. Obviously, the quarter system moves fairly rapidly, and it's important to get started as soon as possible. So, for the first case study assignment, titled Initial Literature Review, the first part or first component asks you to identify an organization or agency that you wish to conduct your evaluation on. And for many of us, or for many of you, I would suggest that you utilize an organization or an agency that you're either working for currently or have previous experience with, so that you'll have maybe a little bit more depth of information, unique information. In addition, I think that in any organization that you're part of, you inherently identify things that can be done better, things that need improvement. So that may give you a better, I guess, feel for this particular research project. Another option, obviously, if you have not worked in a public agency or nonprofit organization, is to choose an organization or an area that is of interest to you. So whether that's looking at cybersecurity, or maybe the Department of Health and Human Services, something that you may be interested in doing in the future, may give you, an area, an idea of what to conduct your research study on. Obviously, throughout the readings that you've seen, that may have piqued your interest as well. If you have any questions or concerns about the organization or agency that you wish to select, then please let me know. And I've responded to some folks who've asked the question, and really I want to give you as much latitude as possible to conduct this research project so that you can really dive in and not be restrained by any organization or agency that I would suggest. So the first part of the assignment is actually to identify the organization, and then briefly discuss why you're selecting this agency or organization. And then you're asked to identify or gather 5 articles that you're going to use, or that you may use at least, in your research project. So after you identify the organization and a broad topic in your mind, you don't have to necessarily state it here, but in your mind, I assume that you would have a research area topic that you're interested in. And then begin conducting the initial research where you look at various journal articles, research reports. In terms of the journal articles that you may want to examine, you may want to look at these particular articles or journals. Obviously, the premier public administration journal is Public Administration Review, and these journals are all available on the library's website. Another common and well-known journal is the American Review of Public Administration. These will give you much more broad topics, more broad-based PA-focused topics. But if you want to look at an evaluation type journal, the American Evaluation Journal is one, or the American Journal of Evaluation, one that you've seen from the research, from the articles that have been assigned for this class. Another good one that I like is the Journal of Public Policy and Management. Again, you'll see a bevy of articles that may give you an idea on where to conduct your research and just give you some more information. So, in terms of the project, that would be section 2. Section 3 is to read the 5 research articles that you've identified, and then for each of the article, you should answer the 4 bullet points in the assignment. What are the main points the authors are trying to make in each article? To what extent are their arguments convincing? what are the research findings, and in what ways could the research study be made stronger. So this is designed to be a much more qualitative assignment, so that it forces you to closely inspect what the research is discussing on the topic that you choose, and to draw some conclusions, to examine if there are relationships between the articles that you've identified, and most importantly to see where the research is headed. A lot of times when you're reading these articles, at the end, in the conclusion or discussion, it'll say future research should be conducted in this area, and that is your cue to pick up on their suggestion and conduct research in that area, or either further a current study that you've identified from your research. So, for example, if you're looking at recidivism in California jails, you may want to broaden that scope to, or I'm sorry, lessen that scope to a particular county in California. But it would be a similar shaped article or research paper, and allow you to narrow the focus a little bit. And one other quick thing in terms of your assignments. So each of the case study assignments appears on Blackboard in the appropriate module. And so for case study assignment 1, the assignment will be in module 4, but I want to hearken you and let you know that it'll appear as a test in Blackboard. This is not a test, it's really just the way it's designed so that I can grade your assignment much easier, and I think it allows you to input your information much more. And since the assignments appear as a test, I believe that once you start the assignment, you do need to complete it. So to address this particular concern, one thing that you can do, and I've created a folder in Blackboard that shows each of the case study assignments is a PDF document. If you click on it and download it, and you can obviously print it, then you can see the questions that are asked prior to beginning the assignment/test. And again, this isn't a time test. I just want to make sure that once you begin it, you are in the best position to enter the information in case it doesn't save while you're completing it, or allow you to save and come back. So my suggestion would be to go to the assignments, the case study assignment document on Blackboard, download the first case study assignment, look at the questions that are asked, and then once you begin the assignment on Blackboard as a test, then you can complete it in one sitting. If you do have questions, please let me know, and I'll be able to address those concerns. The main thing to consider with this assignment is really to get started in your research project. And I know sometimes it becomes challenging to begin the research project, but the later you start the process, the more hurried I find students are, and it obviously adversely impacts your final product. So again, if you have any questions, let me know, and I'll see you at the end of Module 3 and the beginning of Module 4. All right, thanks.